Hello friends, bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Kahlo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, aka Premier Pulls on social media.
On today's episode, Jen explains sigils.
Welcome to the show, grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share, you'll never feel alone.
So this Saturday, August 31st, I will be in San Francisco doing readings at Infinity Coven. So if you are in San Francisco, feel free to stop by and say hello.
Yeah, this will be your second time in SF, huh?
Yeah, I like going to San Francisco. It's a lot of fun, and it's a good time at Infinity Coven.
Yeah, super fun. We debuted our last, we call it Unhinged on our Patreon. And it was really fun. It was us kind of playing some games and talking about some fun topics. So if you haven't checked those out, you can always subscribe to our Patreon to see those for as little as $4 a month. But it was really fun. I enjoyed doing the last one.
Yes, definitely. But I am excited to get into sigils, which I will be providing a tutorial and showing an example of my own sigil that I created recently on Patreon. So if you want that guidance, especially in video format, feel free to check it out.
Yeah. And no community discussion for Virgo, huh?
No, I feel like maybe the voice notes are scaring people, but you can always still do comments or DM us. So if you're scared of doing your voice, no worries.
Yeah. And I actually asked around because, again, I was very interested in knowing, like, if we knew any Virgos personally. I asked, like, 2 or 3 people, and they were like, no, I don't know any. We just kind of know one that we briefly touched on last time, but...
Yeah, I feel like Virgo is one of the, like, rarer signs, just anecdotally.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, today we're talking about sigils. Let's start off with what sigils are, because before last week, I don't think I've ever heard of this term.
Yeah, so a sigil is an inscribed or painted symbol considered to have magic powers. So it's almost like an amulet, but a specific symbol that you can draw on you, wear on you, include in any of your works, and it's supposed to bring that magical essence of whatever it is to whatever you're working on. It is a form of chaos magic, which is basically a concept that came around, I want to say the 70s or the 80s, that the whole perceivable universe is contained in your subconscious and you can change the outcomes of things via your subconscious. Basically a way of saying manifestation. So you can use a sigil that already exists, or you can create your own sigil, and both are just as valid.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the concept of family crests. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, similarly, yes.
Yeah, or, and then there's the rings that have those insignias. Those are called sigil rings, I believe, correct? Yeah, and I think with those you can sign things as well. Either they're like a stamp, or they're for, back in the day, wax. So you'd pour wax, and then you could, like, sign it with your sigil, or seal it with your sigil. It had, like, your signature, basically.
Yeah.
Yes. Apart from the metaphysical, I know that symbolism is really big, going back to kind of cave paintings, to Egyptians with the hieroglyphics, today with, it's a very interesting social law, what's the word I'm looking for? Like social construct. So, for example, like tattoos that have your own meaning, even like graffiti, things of that nature. When people go and like tag, right? That's not spiritual, but it's definitely symbolism. We use visualization representations of like the symbolism that we want to portray, and in everyday life, not just sigils.
Yeah, some hardcore people will get their sigils tattooed on them. Yeah,
I feel like with tattoos, honestly, they've become so commonplace. Some people don't overthink it. I wouldn't even say that's hardcore. Like, what if your sigil looks cool? You're like, I should just get it on me.
But if it has a meaning and you're getting it tattooed on yourself because of the meaning, that's the magic itself.
Yeah, that's like permanent magic, huh?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so you can either use a sigil that is already created or create your own sigil. It's not that hard to do. There is a format if you're like, I don't even know what I want to draw. There's a format of putting your phrase of what you want the sigil to mean and then using like numbers and lines to connect it and basically have it drawn for you through your subconscious. Or if there's a sigil that you already like and want to use and adopt that manifestation for yourself, then you could do that. So for example, the Egyptians have the Ankh, which is the cross with like the loop on top.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
So it stands for protection. And people still use it nowadays as a protection symbol. The cross in Christianity could be argued as a sigil because a lot of people wear the cross not just to show their faith, but to feel like they have that protection on them.
That was interesting because that's an actual like thing, the cross. It's not just symbolic, it was an actual method of execution.
Yeah.
So it has, which has always been kind of interesting, right?
It's a little weird, yeah, but...
Like, I think I saw a thing online where it's like, what if he would have been decapitated by the guillotine? Like, would people be carrying around little guillotines on their neck?
I think just because the cross is easy to draw, that was adopted. There's also, going back to the Egyptians, like the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, which I learned are like two different things. One is drawn by the left and then one is drawn by the right. They both have very similar meanings, but they're slightly different. I'm not an Egyptian expert, but Egyptologist. But the Eye of Ra is the left eye if you were staring at somebody's face, and the Eye of Horus is on the right if you're staring at somebody's face. They both are good for like warding off evil, bringing in blessings and good health. I don't exactly know what the difference is, but they both are used for something like that. And then there's also a book, and just like this whole sect of magic called the 72 Demons of Goetia, and those already have their sigils. So if you were to incorporate some demon magic or just want to personify what you're trying to do with that, you could look up a sigil there and use that sigil. Have you seen the show Supernatural?
I have not.
Supernatural is full of sigils.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I know someone that got a supernatural sigil tattooed on them because of the meaning. But yeah, that show is full of like sigils on the characters, using it to do this or that. So yeah, it's all around us. It's really just a magical symbol and a magical way to protect yourself.
Now, with the astrology symbols, how they're each kind of represented by a little sign, would those be sigils?
Those are also sigils.
Yeah, maybe talk a little bit about those, because I always see them and there's very few that I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But like, for example, Pisces, it looks like a sideways, like a 6 and a 9. Like, that doesn't look like that. Or Cancer's the crab, but it doesn't look like a crab. Are they are they more like abbreviations, or do they have meaning as well?
So those symbols basically come from, like, if you were to connect the dots in the stars of the constellation, that's more or less what it looks like.
Oh, I see.
That's where that comes from. But
those are sigils, because those are kind of created and we just connect the dots. But like, what do they hold any power, or do they hold any other power aside from identification?
If you were trying to use them in a magical sort of way, sure, but like by themselves, are they sigils? Not so much. I would argue that the planets are more sigils than the astrology signs.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Because you can derive, I feel like, more manifestation power from working with an actual planet's energy than with an astrology energy.
How would you have a symbolic representation of a planet, though?
Well, there's different sigils for the planets.
Oh, there are?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So Mercury, if I were to explain it. So the sun, let me start with the sun. The sun is literally a circle with a dot. That is the sigil for the sun.
Oh, okay.
And then the moon, the sigil is a crescent moon. But then for Mercury, it looks like, the female symbol?
Yes.
The female symbol with a U on top of the head is Mercury. And then Venus is like the female sigil. And then Mars is like the male sigil.
Okay.
And then Jupiter kind of looks like it's kind of looks like a 4. You would have to see all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're saying those have a little more like mystical powers as opposed to the astrological symbols?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to explain.
How to paint a picture with words?
Yeah, I feel like, dang, this episode would have been a little more interesting with like pop-ups and but I'll do the best I can. So the planet is a method in which you harness the how can I explain this?
Like the energy of that planet, right?
It's very, very difficult to explain.
I mean, you've talked about it before. You've talked about the moon, kind of.
Yeah, it's just so. For example, Mars is the planet of like drive, manifestation, things like that. But Mars gets affected where, depending on where it is in the sky, like within that energy,
which you've explained.
Yes, so. If you draw Mars on like a red candle, let's say, and you're trying to like manifest going after something specifically with love, like Mars is a good sigil to work with because then you're using the energy of Mars to go after that thing. But then if you were to draw like the Leo sigil, I mean...
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Like Roman numerals. You know how, for example, the number 4 is depicted as IV, but the number 6 is depicted as VI? Mm-hmm. So like depending on where like the I is... Because Roman numerals are just like numeric. Depending on the order of where things are, that's what gives you the number. Is that kind of similar?
It's hard to explain. It's like one is a place and one is a vehicle. It's kind of it's difficult to explain.
I think the Mars example you gave makes sense.
Like if you're trying to manifest success, I would draw Saturn.
Yeah.
Because Saturn is always somewhere. Like the planets are always somewhere, but not. There are times where Capricorn is empty. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Yeah.
So that's why I would rather.
I feel like you're confusing yourself.
Yeah, I'm just like second guessing myself. We're still in retrograde, but that's why I would rather work with the planets than the astrological symbols in terms of sigils.
And you can have multiple sigils for multiple situations. There's not like it's not like the family crest where it's like an overarching symbol that you utilize for yourself. Like you can have multiple sigils for different situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on what you're trying to do, you can have multiple sigils.
Yeah. And when it comes to sigils, I'm guessing you can put them on whatever, but like, does it also matter? Like, can you enhance, or does it have a different meaning if you write it on, like, let's say, a holy rock, or if you're using moon water to write it, or like, I don't want to get weird, but like, if you write it like in blood or something, does it matter like the vehicle and the canvas you write it on? Could that have anything to do with it?
It just depends on the ritual and what you're trying to attain. So, let's say if you're trying to do like an abundance spell for yourself and you're like mailing a letter to yourself in the future and you write it in like green ink, like that could, it's layers on layers. Like there's color magic, there's candle magic, like it all overlaps. It's not just one thing. And now that we're on episode 47, it's like you can really combine all of these concepts together.
Yeah. Or you could, like, if you do a sigil on a candle on your altar during a new moon, it all like compounds.
Yep.
You know, all this metaphysical stuff reminds me of math in school. Like you start in the first grade with learning how to add, and by the time you're in 12th grade, you're like, find the solution to this equation, but everything that you've learned like applies. Like you can't go into calculus before taking pre-calc.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. And then with the sigils, are those things that should, because you talked about during the altars, but are those things that should kind of remain private to you? Is it okay if they get out?
Yeah.
Is it like a password you should protect?
I would highly recommend, just like your altar, that you keep it private and only show people that you truly trust.
And why is that?
Just because if people know what you're trying to manifest and you have a big old hater out there, they could send something to like undo it or attempt to undo it. Maybe they won't be successful, but like you're sort of showing your hand before it's time to show your cards.
So are sigils a manifestation thing, or could they also be, because the way you're describing it, it almost seems like a form of, you said chaos magic, but based on, again, what I've learned so far from you, it almost sounds like a manifestation thing, kind of like an instruction set? Or could it also just be like a protector? Could it be...
Yeah, if you're manifesting protection, like you're bringing a specific intention with a magical symbol. So yeah, whether it's protection,
I guess like we talked about with the evil eye. Well, that's not a sigil. Is it when you actually write it out or draw it out? Would the evil eye be a sigil?
Yeah, sigils I feel like are a little more abstract. Like
they're more symbols, right? That's kind of a thing.
Yeah, the eye is just literally an eye.
Yeah, but well, I guess you know how we're like, well, if you want to do some protection, you can put an evil eye like at the front of your house. Kind of the same with the sigils, right? Like, what if you drew like a sigil by the door?
Yeah,
so that's still manifestation, though.
Yeah, that's manifesting protection. So, if you wanted to use a sigil that you already know that represents protection, or draw your own sigil, and you're like, this sigil represents protection. Every time I draw it, I will be protected, and I'm gonna keep it like by my front door, under my plant, whatever.
Yeah.
However you want to display it, or maybe I'm gonna make it into art, and I'll just hang it by my doorway.
But then you don't want people to see it either.
But if people don't know what it means, it's like if you get a camera and you're like, hey guys, I have like this, and this, and like I drew this sigil to mean this. Like if you're giving all your cards away, it could be in plain sight, but people don't have to know what it means.
Got it. Okay, I see. I don't know if you're gonna remember this, but we got you did, not me. You got like a postcard or a letter from a friend or something. It wasn't a sticky note. It looked like a pink postcard, and it had like a weird sign on it. And I was like, what does that mean? It's hanging on our like picture wall.
It's probably the astrology symbols, and you didn't know what they were.
I don't think so. It kind of looked like a horizontal C with like two lines on it. I was like, hey, what is that? Like, oh, that's just a sign. I didn't know what sigils were, but you might have said sigil. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. How long ago was this?
It's probably about a year and a half ago. It came in the mail from somebody, one of your friends.
Was it on my birthday?
It might have been on your birthday, yeah.
It was the astrology symbols.
It was?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
It was, what astrology symbol was it?
Probably Libra.
Oh, it wasn't your astrology symbol, though.
Yeah, because I'm a Leo sun, Libra moon, Libra rising.
Oh, yeah, I forget we asked. No matter how many times you're going to tell me and how many times we've done, like, talked about the big three, I literally always forget that there's people. Oh, yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
I just pulled up the Libra sign.
Oh, okay. So it's not a sigil. Yeah, see? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. So they sent you that for your birthday because you're a Libra. That's an interesting thing to send, I think. Not like... I guess people who are in, like, want to say the community or into metaphysical would send not your sun sign. They'd send, like, the other ones.
Well, she sent all three. She sent my big three. Leo, Libra.
I think, why am I only thinking about the Libra?
I don't know.
That's interesting. That's what's stuck in my brain.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. What about... And we've talked about this with like the botanica. Sometimes you'll go in there and you'll do like, you buy the little prayer cards or a little affirmation that has like symbolic magic, or could be quote unquote charged or blessed. Do people sell like little sigils, or is that like a moral thing to do? I
guess if someone was like, hey, draw me a unique sigil, it's just like paying for art. Like, I don't see a problem with it, but you could really do it yourself for free. Like,
no, correct. I mean, but you could also write an affirmation for free.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, technically everything you could do for free.
Yeah, you
could start a podcast for free. Well, it's funny because that's kind of what you tell people when people are like, "Can I read my own astrology chart?" And you're like, "You can." And you can also do your own taxes, but you could go to a tax person if you want, more help, right?
Yeah, if you want like a super cool, intricate looking one, then yeah, you could absolutely pay someone for it.
If somebody came to you and said, "Could you make a sigil for me for XYZ?" Would you feel comfortable doing it?
Yeah, I would. I would.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's another service you can offer.
So your mom actually, I gifted you a sigil. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember that weird looking pentagram that she gave you? With all the like.
But that's just a pentagram.
But that's a sigil because it's a magical symbol that represents something, and it was like health or virility or something.
It was virility.
Yeah.
I fucked with the aesthetic, but yeah, she gave me a pentagram. It's like a gold pentagram, and it has I forget what it had.
Pentagram is a sigil, and then that one, it was a more complicated pentagram.
Yeah. Okay, so they can be like universals. They can be used across the way.
What do you mean?
Like it doesn't have to be just unique, right? They can be reused.
I mean, it is unique because it had like, the base was a pentagram, but then it had...
but I've seen that like any time you go to like a metaphysical shop, I've seen that one before. I think it's called a protective pentagram. I'm looking it up right now.
It had like specific like weird drawings on the inside and outside of it, so each one is unique. There are a lot of pentagram sigils, but they're all unique in their own way.
Are they? Because I feel like I've seen that one before.
I mean, there are like common ones that people reuse, but there are a lot of different pentagrams, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Got it. Yeah, I wore the pentagram forever, and then funny enough, when I took it off, I think that's the first time I got COVID.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's been weird. So I'm not wearing. I haven't worn it for a while. I don't remember why. I think I was going to the gym and it was like bugging me too much. But every time I do take it off, something weird will usually happen. But I was layering them because I got that one from my mom. Then I bought another one. That one was called the lunar pentagram, I believe. I forgot what that was for. Just because I liked it. I liked the original color of it. It was like rose gold, but it was kind of fake, so the color wore off. But I guess that's a sigil too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got that one in Colorado. That one's really cool.
Yeah.
I might start wearing my pentagrams again. I don't know why I stopped wearing them. But yeah, anytime I would take them off, something would happen, which was really funny.
Yeah. And sigils can be charged to add even like more power. So some people like put oil, like if you carve a sigil into your candle and then like fill it with oil, you could do that. Or like some people get hardcore and they try to do like adrenaline evoking experiences to like charge the sigil with that. Like there was someone trying to work with the Jupiter sigil. Jupiter is a planet of abundance, and they were trying to manifest getting out of debt. So they drew the Jupiter sigil on themselves and they went on roller coasters all day.
Whoa.
Yeah, which was very interesting. So with all of that like adrenaline, they basically charged that sigil, charged that manifestation, and then they said it worked for them.
Was that something you personally know, or was that an anecdote?
No, that's a creator that I follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really intense.
That is really intense.
I guess you could also do it. You've been doing a lot of moon charging. I know within our Discord there's a lot of moon talk. I'm guessing you could do like a moon charge sigil as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. You could just layer on layer and combine different concepts, and it's really cool, and just make it your own unique thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you Trojan horse a sigil? Like maybe draw it on a piece of paper and like drop it into somebody's purse? Like, does that do anything?
Depends on what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to banish someone, I guess, or like, I guess you could give someone anything enchanted or cursed. Yeah, depending on which way.
A cursed item.
Yeah,
or like when they say you find a cursed item, like
I've just never thought of using sigils that way, but that would make sense.
I mean, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a Trojan horse sigil.
And I feel like it could be pretty inconspicuous too, because you could like, I don't want to give people ideas, never mind. But I mean, just put on a Post-it, put on like their windshield or something.
People are going to freak out and post it online and be like, ladies, if you get this in your purse, you've been marked and you're going to get traffic. Yeah.
But I mean, I guess there's evil for anything, right? Anything and everything we talk about does have a flip side to it.
Absolutely.
I think every topic we've talked about could have like a flip side to it. we usually talk about like happy manifestation, but we have talked about like sour jars and curses and things of that nature. So like a sigil could essentially be that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about how you've used sigils, where you've made sigils. What practices do you have as Genesis with sigils?
Yeah, so I draw sigils on the back of my candles or at the bottom of my candles, just to kind of give them that extra oomph. And sometimes,
how long have you been doing that?
I want to say for about a year now, because I was a little intimidated because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm drawing. And then I realized it could be anything as long as I say, this means this, it's going to work. So I've been mainly using it on my candles, but I've also used it on bay leaves when I've like gotten a bay leaf because it represents like abundance, and like drawn on it and then kept it in my wallet.
So kind of like what we were talking about earlier, the medium can change or like charge it or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you draw it on the candles, what are you drawing it with? Like a Sharpie?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen those.
Because I normally make it a little more inconspicuous. I put it like on the back of the candle.
So you don't even trust me?
No, it's not that. It's just, I don't know. It's like you lock the door to your house.
Well,
just because I don't know. Like,
yeah.
You just do it.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so you've used it for manifestation. What else? So the back of the candles, what were those for?
Honestly, most of the things that I do are around manifesting money. That's my favorite thing to do.
You're gonna monkey paw yourself.
I really am. I really am. But that's my favorite thing to do. You could also use sigils, and I actually want to do this, and I'm going to show the Patreon what it is, because if you're on the Patreon, then you're definitely on a different level of trust. But I was planning on using sigils to bless our space and sort of, I guess, energetically clean with it. So, for example, if you get like an oil and you want to rub it on your door to block, let's say, like thieves or something, then you could sort of like buff it out in a specific pattern. Sort of like, okay.
Or it would like disappear, right?
Yeah, so you're not necessarily like drawing it permanently, but you're moving your hand in the way to where you are drawing the symbol. So let's say the symbol is a star, and you're gonna like clean a window, then you would clean it in a star pattern.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. And then that way it's kind of like the key under the rug. It'll open it, but okay. You know what that concept kind of reminds me of? Have you heard of a mezuzah?
Is that the Jewish thing where it goes in the doorway? Yeah,
where a rabbi has to come install it, kind of blesses it, and basically in your dwelling you have that, and as you go through it, like, it's a spiritual thing. It's a Hebrew spiritual thing, but I think those are interesting, and it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, it reminds me of that too, except it's actual like letters.
Oh, the sigils, you mean?
The
mezuzah?
That thing?
The mezuzah it's like a little box, and inside is a scroll from the Torah, I believe. Yeah, so it's like a little thing, actually.
So it's like it's not necessarily a symbol.
No, just the concept.
The concept, yes.
The concept reminded me of that. On top of, you could really protect your home, because you could do like the saw perimeter, the sigil, the evil eye.
Yeah.
You must have like a lot of haters though, if you need to go to those extents. Like, you really must be worried for, maybe if you're getting to a point where you have all these protections, like, just be a better person. Right?
I mean, you can never be too careful. That's what I think.
You can.
But yeah, that's a way to use it too.
Yeah. And they also do like the there's that like paint that you can only see with a black light. That would be kind of cool too, so you can just have it. And then, like, if you wanted to really see it, you could do like a black light underneath it. Yeah. So you've done manifestation for that. You're thinking about doing for protection. Have you ever done any sigil work with like a client or anything like that?
No, I haven't.
No.
Yeah, okay. I haven't had the opportunity, or it hasn't come up to do it with someone else. But I mainly use it in my own practice.
Would you ever tattoo a sigil on you? And if you did, like, what would it be for? Or, like, what would it represent?
Yeah, I think I would either, if I was to tattoo a sigil, I would maybe do like a protection or abundance sigil. And I would try to do it somewhere inconspicuous, like maybe between my fingers or like ankles or something.
Between your fingers?
Yeah, you know how people used to do like the hipster mustaches with their finger?
I see. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Like that.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
Like the inside of your fingers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's intense. And then what would you do? Like, what would it be for? If you were to do it.
Yeah, I feel like on either the left or right, I'm still debating, but like on the left or in one hand would be protection and on the other hand would be abundance. Okay. I think on the left would probably be protection and the right would probably be abundance because my hand is right dominant.
Oh, okay. Got it. I got it. You and the abundance. Like... At what point are you just satisfied?
I'm working on it. I have a specific figure in my head. I'm manifesting it.
And if it doesn't get there?
We'll keep working at it.
Again, we've talked about this, but I think for you, one of the things is like doing your manifestation or doing your things for like being grateful for what we have.
Yeah, it's because I have a second house, Pluto in Scorpio.
Okay. It's your second house.
Yes, it is. It's my second house, Pluto.
It's not a personality defect. It's your astrology.
Yep, it is.
Cool. So what else do we have for sigils?
Yeah, so I definitely encourage you to just draw your sigil however you like, however calls to you, get creative. But a way that you can create a sigil is basically to write out a short phrase and then you can number the different letters. And then after that, you can put the numbers in random order and sort of like connect the dots. And then that's how you can create your own sigil if you're not artistically inclined and already have something in mind.
Okay.
Which is the method that I use that I will be showing on the Patreon Unhinged episode.
Yeah. Alrighty. It doesn't look like we had any questions. This episode is going to be a little short because there's going to be a practical side to it. Again, we never want to gatekeep information, but we are going to be showing like the how-to in case you're interested. This is more like a tutorial, and that is going to be on the Patreon. But as far as like what sigils are, what they're used for, obviously that we want to share that information.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple concept. There's not a lot to say. There's not a lot of history. It's just like a practical exercise.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
No, that was it. Yeah. For those of you that are interested in seeing what a sigil looks like and how to actually do it and seeing the sigil that I created under the August 4th new moon in Leo while I was on my retreat, feel free to check out the Patreon.
Yeah. And we didn't have any questions on sigils. I'm not surprised. Not really a concept that I think people know a lot about. So, yeah. No questions this time, but if you listen to this episode and then next time you have some questions, like please feel free to ask. We're still kind of working out the subjects for September. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe they are already here. But we do next week's topic is going to be deja vu.
Yeah, that was a request from someone, so I'm very excited to dive into that.
Mm-hmm. And if people want to get a hold of you for like a reading, or in this case, maybe sigil consultation, how can they get a hold of you?
Yes, jencolo.com or my Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube at jencolo.
Awesome.
Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place.